Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NRG series where we're bringing you a $10,000 modern tournament today. It's day number 2 because yesterday we had a Team Trios event, but today it's just pure modern. My name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as the Will Hall EXP, and I'm joined by the coach himself, Mr. Mason Clark. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to watch our last paper open series event today. It's all modern, my favorite format, and a format that's looking really great right now.
Yeah, it's obviously you just had the RC over in America, and it's really put a bit of vamp in it. A couple of decks stood out, a couple of decks that weren't on people's radars doing extremely well, and a couple of players picking up some trophies. And maybe we'll be seeing some of them in our feature matches a little bit later on. While we've got the players sat down ready to go, I'm going to remind everybody that we've got 162 players in the room battling out today. We've got 8 rounds of Swiss for you before we make it to today's top 8, and again crown ourselves a champion. They're playing for the share of $10,000 and an invite to the end of year championships, which is a 24-player, $35,000 cash prize and a slot to the Pro Tour. So much on the line, not just today, but throughout the year with all the players getting the points to get on that leaderboard. A lot on the line. This is just how I want it. I want exciting modern with lots on the line. I can see our players set down. Mason, do you reckon we should go down to our round 1 feature match?
Let's just head on down as they're ready to go.
Let's do it. Let's get down there. Let's see who we have got in our feature match. Have you heard this Vinny guy? Did he do something recently?
Yeah, Vinny won the first United States RC going on this year. So one playing Jeskai Blink is still rocking up with Jeskai Blink today. And meanwhile, Terry Edwards on Simic Ritual. This is a deck that I think has caught a lot of people's eye. We saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
The team of Dustin Berg that top aided. We saw Kamari qualified for the Pro Tour and NRG regular playing this deck as well. And it's a deck to me that I think, is still very much in people are figuring out exactly what plans are the best, what's exactly ready to go. Speaking of ready to go, let them know. They're fine to fire off whenever they want.
We're giving him the thumbs up down that table. Look at Vinny's. Yeah. Look, I'm already a fan because he's got a Phyrexian tattoo on his hand. I have one on my arm as well. In fact, players, we know each other. We'll give each other that little wink when we walk past each other. And as you said, we're going to see a lot of him moving forward this year because not only winning that RC, does he now have that title, but at the next Pro Tour, he'll have his own graphic saying that he was the North American champion. He will also be at the World Championships as well because, of course, coming top 2 of the RC, that automatically qualifies you for that. So we're going to see a lot more of this gentleman. But going up against this Simic Ritual deck, you mentioned we saw it yesterday. This is meant to be a combo killer. The Blink deck isn't a combo deck. It's a very good grindy deck. It's got a lot of synergies in there, but also the cards themselves are extremely powerful, so it might not line up great against this Simic Ritual deck. What do you think, though, in the hands of Vinny, really experienced of it, obviously been able to play so many rounds last weekend and take it down? Who are you favoring?
Yeah, it's hard not to go against the champ, right? It's hard not to go with the champ. I misspoke there. I think the Jeskai Blink deck is very, very good. Vinny obviously, won the event, has been talking a lot with his friend as well, Ivan Espinosa, a player that's done really well here in the NRG series and just, in Magic in general. And it seems like those two are really plugged in and really innovating and updating their deck. Seen them talk about that online a lot. And that's the kind of stuff that always, I think, is so important. And when players are locked in, playing well, really putting time into something, it's hard for me to, root against them. I don't know Terry the same way. Maybe Terry feels a similar thing about Simic Ritual, but I do think, like you mentioned, I think Simic Ritual, its biggest test in my mind is how do we make this Jeskai Blink matchup a bit better? Right. There are elements of it that are very good. There are elements that are very bad. And that's really what I'm most excited about with this feature match, besides some high-level magic, is just how is the Simic Ritual deck going to, make it against the Jeskai Blink deck? Because it seems to me like its biggest obstacle in the moment.
Well, yeah, it's also going to be like the hot topic, right? We always thought of Blink decks was going to be like, the Esper or the black-white deck, but not in this case. I do want to talk about that, that literally turn 1 play there that we saw. We saw the turn 1 Ragavan, Vinny on the play. Great. It's almost the best thing we want is to start off with Ragavan. We start over on Terry's side with a Surveil land. So we know that Ragavan's going to connect. How do you work out your surveys? Are you surveying something you don't want them to have? Are you surveying something that you don't mind? Or if that was, say, a 2 or 3 drop, would you put it in the bin?
Well, it depends a lot. If your deck has graveyard synergies, that might move the needle, right? But assuming you're a typical deck, when there's a Ragavan, you just want to leave a card on top that you think will not be very helpful, right? Theoretically, your opponent could love you and not attack or whatever, but that's not really where you want to be. If you have a bad card on top, that's I don't know, something that It's like pretty like not good for you to see. Obviously, you want to embed it, but the too long didn't read is you just want to operate under the assumption your opponent's going to hit with Ragavan, right? And they're going to hit and they're going to, get the card. So you should just do whatever makes the most sense in that sense.
Do you ever do that? Would you ever crack a fetch in response to get Surveil land before the Ragavan connects?
No, I would much rather adapt my game plan to kind of see what's happening. It doesn't matter the type of deck I am as well, right? Like Terry's deck here is a lot of 2 and 3 drops. So there's a lot of things that Ragavan could play. There's also a lot of counter spells and permission. So it might not be like the end of the world, right? If I was playing maybe the Mirror or another like a deck like Prowess, maybe I'd feel a little different.
You see this counter magic, but we were able to get a turn 2 Teferi on the board. That's another Oculus. And now 1 Oculus has been put to the hand, 2 have been exiled from this Ragavan, and we're just going to pass the turn back. A big uphill for Terry to get back into this matchup, but not nothing that Buffing Ritual probably couldn't do. The value of that card we know is extremely high.
Yeah, the Eyeball was the card that I was planning to talk to you about. When you asked me, how does Terry win this game? I was going to, talk about the big eye in the sky. And losing 2 to exile is not game over, but it does just mean, essentially Vinny kind of killed, quote unquote, 2 of them, right? And obviously, didn't have to do anything for it, just got some treasures along the way. But the other big thing I was going to mention is we're going to need to fight over this Teferi 3. Teferi 3 is such a powerful card because so much of the Simic deck's value, right, is I get on board and I interact with you and I kind of pull ahead eventually. Well, when Teferi 3 is in play, that is a really, really hard task. And that's the other thing this deck needs to kind of solve with time is how do I beat Teferi 3? Because Teferi 3 is all very good against your abhorrent Oculus.
Why do you think we're seeing so many Teferis coming back into the format now? Why are we sort of steering back towards it? For a long time we stopped playing them.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of this is Quantum Riddler, right? Like this, it's a nice answer to Riddler. It's a nice answer to like the Gorios type stuff. Ooh, Harbinger of the Seas. I don't think it's going to get played, but there's the timeline where Terry maybe has double, dual land, and you think about it. Obviously, Terry's deck's built with it in mind, but either way, so here comes Fable. It's just the metagame kind of shifting, right? And like Teferi is pretty good against a couple of the decks right now, but Quantum Riddler unsummoning in the Mirror, it's a great way to get ahead. It weirdly has some text versus Belcher because they use a lot of counter spells and suspend stuff. So it is just sort of a card that is, pretty frustrating for a lot of decks. And we finally have a fair engine to back it up.
It's really good. It's good against the Terry's deck here, this Simic Ritual deck, because obviously we've got things like Flare Denials, Force Negation, Subtleties, Ice Fangs, Nicottles, Endurances, so many cards that we want to be playing instant speed and gaining value from them when we do use them, and that completely got shut down on turn 2. Again, kind of showing this the power of Ragavan that we all know and love and know how good this card could be, but this is really like escalating it if you can follow it over turn 2 Teferi on the play.
Yep. And don't even forget, Shardless Agent doesn't work into it well. You cannot cascade, and that's one of our good ways to find the ritual pretty consistently. And, Terry's trying to do stuff here, and we've had these oracles, but part of this, like, classic Ragavan mixture from Vinny's side is, hey, I've got a lot of removal to back up these things, And so now we're in a really interesting position here where, Terry has the Oculus, but only 3 cards in graveyard.
Well, we can fetch to put we got double fetch. We can put 4 and 5 in there. Would you attack the Teferi here, hoping that the token blocks?
Well,
and then get the 6 for
the Whirling Oracle. So that would be an illegal play. So I would not. Nice try, Will Hall.
So it doesn't have haste. So this card's rubbish. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, if it was designed these days, it would.
If it was an MH3, we would.
Okay, and this play makes. We're bouncing the treasure. I thought we were bouncing Teferi. I mean, we're bouncing the goblin.
We can counter it on the way back down, right?
Yeah, there's just a flare in Terry's hand. So I thought the idea was bounce Teferi, flare Teferi, obviously get hit by the Ragavan, and then slam Oculus, hopefully with a counterspell back up, and just hope to kind of go the distance. Now, we actually know Vinny has another Teferi in hand, so even if this one got answered, Vinny could play it again as long as there's untapped land. But
Flage in hand.
Yeah, Flage in hand with Fable, a very powerful synergy. Just put it straight in the graveyard and skip that first cast. Sometimes you do want the first cast. Lots of times you're happy just to get it on board and stay on board. And this is the other sort of, the final nail in how will Simic Ritual solve these problems. And that's, resolve Flage. This deck is pretty good at keeping Flage from resolving, but once it does resolve, it is really hard to answer it. It was to the point where I was actually talking to a friend last night about this deck, and I was like, man, maybe we just need to play Path. You know, like maybe we have to like go into other colors if we're gonna like actually beat a Flage. But it's like if this thing sticks, it is so strong. Whoever made this card was not thinking clearly.
Idiot, I would say.
Idiot.
Like, you know,
Idiot. Yeah.
Do they even know Magic? That's what I would have said.
It
Like,
probably could have been 2 mana though, to be fair. As we are gonna see some cards played here.
We're gonna follow up with a Riddler. Obviously, we're gonna use our treasure token plus this. So just go a card deeper, just for the extra value. Why not?
Yeah, I like that Vinny unsleeves it real quick to make sure I remember on the warp. That's probably a really helpful trick when you're playing standard. So for everyone who's playing VV Mirrors, that's a good one to take away from this feature match as Terry picks up the cards. And yeah, I mean, listen, this is the hard obstacle for a lot of decks. When there is a really popular, like mid-rangey type deck that's also really good, your deck might be good versus a lot of the field. But if you struggle against these kind of decks, these are very popular, even when they're not great. Right? Well, like just think back on your Magic career, right? As we pull up this deck list here, people love to play these Jeskai Blink essential decks. And so when your matchup's hard against them, it becomes a real challenge to register a deck and sort of a thing we need to overcome. And what do we have in the sideboard, Will, to maybe overcome said problems?
I was about to ask you exactly the same thing. I'm looking at it. We've got the Abraser, we've got some Consigns and Endurance, Force of Vigors, Harbinger of the Sea, Mystical Disputes, and the Stern Scolding. That's like... We've got Harbingers in the main. When they're good, they're good. When they're not good, they're not good. In the face of endings and the fact that we've seen multiple of them means that we're able to Vinny can fetch around and get the basics. So that's good. I don't know if that's going to be the plan we want. Consigns, is that good to stop any triggers? You know, Vinny's doing the same thing. I don't really like that either. It's not, you're stopping a trigger, not the card itself. Endurance, I guess I'll bring that in because I know it's a Flage deck. It's half decent. We saw the Fable, but realistically nothing else. I don't think we want Forces. Mystical Dispute. There are some blue cards on the other side. Is there, you know, it's maybe it would help us stop a Teferi coming down or a Riddler, but I wouldn't mind maybe some of them. Worst case scenario, we can hard cast it for free and potentially try and gain some tempo that way. And then what do you think on Stern Scoldings?
I don't think I'm down for Scolding. I mean, Scolding hits Solitude and Ragavan, so I get the idea for it, especially on the play. Being able to fight over a resolved Ragavan can be really important. The cards I know I really want are Endurance and Brazen Borrower. Those two answer Flage. Play well into Teferi, as it's something you can do in response, forcing the Teferi to minus. In the case of Endurance or Borrower, but you can also unsummon a Teferi with Brazen Borrower's Petty Theft mode along with a Flage. So I really like those cards. I'm pretty interested in having some Mystical Disputes. And then everything else I could, you know, sort of take it or leave it. I guess like Stern Scolding in my mind is a card more for prowessy stuff, and maybe it's good enough here. Your Dismembers are weirdly either really good or really bad in this matchup, right? And that's sort of the awkwardness, and the same for Stern Scolding. It's like if you Scolding a Solitude or a Ragavan, you know, or a Felia, that kind of stuff, you're very, very happy, you know. But Flage, Quantum Riddler, those cards, it's really awkward with Stern Scolding. And so I'm going to be interested to see how Terry navigates this, because I think this is the big puzzle. Terry, a Fibblethip believer, has 2 in the deck. Probably the first card's cut. Let's take a look at Vinny's deck.
I was about to say, do we have the other deck list to have a look at? If we do, let's get that up on the list and see what the champ had. Looking at this deck list, we've got some Ashioks, Force of Vigors, Ghost Vacuums, Mystical Disputes, Charmors, Subtleties, and Surgical Extractions, plus some Wrath of the Skies. What do you like here?
Yeah, Mystical Dispute seems great. I mean, often if my opponent has Mystical Dispute, I want Mystical Dispute, right? That's kind of like a rule of thumb I have. And Subtlety is a pretty good card to have. Once again, a Horned Oculus is one of the few threats you actually care about from the Simic ritual side, as Vinny here. So having Subtlety in order to stop the eyeball from coming down seems good. And, you know, you've got a couple cards that are kind of medium, like your March of the Lord Lights are pretty good. So I could see maybe cutting one of them, you know, but it's not like the end of the world. You could cut on a Fable if you wanted to. You could cut on Ragavans because you're on the draw. A lot of X1s that come down pretty quickly. So a lot of different ways Vinny could go. My guess is it's probably like, you know, down a 2-3 Ragavans, up those cards, maybe down a kill spell to up for a better one and call it a day.
All right, well, let's see if you're right. Let's get down to our match. I think the players are just finishing up sideboarding. I think Vinny's going to be keeping the opening 7. Terry's going to be taking the mulling down to 6, but we'll be on the play in game number 2 here. So it doesn't, well, hopefully doesn't have to worry about another turn 2 of Fairy coming down. Let's have a look what we've got in there. See, it's a Force in there. See some, I think that's an Oculus. I think that's also a Harbinger in there. Might maybe 2 land, 3 land. All right, well, likes it. We're going to keep it. And we're going to be off to the races here in game number 2, round number 1 of 8 that we're bringing you today on the NRG.
Both Terry, with the Harbinger of the season, the deck still. This was something you had mentioned before. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's tough. I was curious to see how many, and we don't know exactly how many Terry has here. I'm trying to get an eyeball as we're looking through the deck. Thank goodness it took forever to find that, so I got a good look at what's in our deck now. But it is a card that, like, I wonder if it even should be in our deck. You know what I mean? Like, our opponent is very, like, well-versed in Modern, right? And also, if you don't know that, right, like maybe you haven't paid attention to the RC, life's been busy. If you're not someone who's like really well known for something, you get the round 1 feature, you got to assume, right? You're just like, something's up here. So you got to assume your opponent knows what's up, and they're just going to fetch around it, right? Or have like a kill spell for it. So this is my issue with this sort of thing when your deck, you know, has the ability to play around it, is you often actually get not a lot from it. Obviously, it can, you know, spike a game, right? If your opponent doesn't respect it, they just lose. But it's a kind of a tall ask here. I'm curious to see kind of, does Vinny, like, you know, fetch or surveil this turn and then get like a basic planes next turn?
Yeah, right? That's why I want to be interesting. Like, how is he going to play around it? Can he play around it with his hand? Because obviously your hand decides realistically if you can play around it. And a player at his level, you imagine he will. But we'll find out with this surveil on the stack. Doesn't want another fetch land, so that's going to go into the graveyard. Draws the turn. I think it was a Riddler. And yeah, just going to pass the turn, leave 2 mana up. But that could be numerous different things in this list.
Yeah, this could be a dog. It could be, you know, more interaction.
I think we found a Flare Denial for the turn. There's the
Brazen Borrower.
Brazen Borrower that you spoke about.
No,
I like that as a one of.
Yeah, it's a really nice one of, right? I mean, like, just 3/1 flyer is actually pretty reasonable. Yeah, you see Vinny tanking here. I think part of this is, which basic do I want to fetch? Or do I even want to play around it too? Like you mentioned, you know, Vinny might not be able to. Also, Vinny might think the same thing we're talking about, right? Is Terry going to leave in Harbinger of the Seas? If Terry was going to leave in Harbinger of the Seas, is a 2-lander Harbinger hand something that Terry might find, you know, enticing enough? Do I want to use my mana, or can I even use my mana in a way I'm happy about?
And we are going to fetch up that basic. Terry did miss the 3rd land drop. I did see in Vinny's hand Wrath of the Skies. So they did come in, or at least some number of them have come in, which I quite like. If you can do it for free, it hits basically everything in the deck. Or if you kind of worry about, doesn't hit the subtlety, but let's have a look what else we're going to do. End of turn, nothing, just fetching the basic and go. Then we're going to shock in the Steam Vents. That's going to give us 3 mana. We know about Flare Denials. Here comes a Force, a Fable the Mirror Breaker on the stack. Do you have a Force Negation if you want to use that?
Force Negation, pitch Harbinger of the Sea seems pretty reasonable to me. You don't even have a green land yet, and so your Harbinger might lock you out of the game.
Might be the Brazen Borrower that's getting ditched here by looks. It's been brought to the front of the grip.
Looks like Terry said, I'm going to definitely do this. I just got to figure out what's going, and Shardless Agent's the answer.
Okay. Seems like it'd be one of our better cards being able to get us to, you know, almost double spell this turn. Surveil land off the top is at least a land, but it's not the one we wanted. I think that's an Ice Fang I can see. Deciding if we want that on top, we don't. That's going to go into the bin. Go in combat, turn them sideways, dropping down to Vinny down to 13, and just pass the turn.
I like this attack with both. Don't worry about Ragavan. It's probably out on the draw. And, you know, if it is here, then it's probably not the end of the world if Ragavan gets dashed.
We've got Flare Denials if needs be. Here comes a Flage on the stack. We're happy for that tap. We do. We'll take the 3 life gain and get out one of these oracles. Mountain Pass. Yeah, this Harbinger is not looking good right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the awkward part, right? Like, if you get it down and they don't have basics, it's great. But now it doesn't do anything. And, you know, I get maybe if you don't have enough sideboard cards, you want to do something like that. But sometimes you just got to, you know, be willing to take away your free wins or have them in your deck and be willing to pitch them to Force Negation. Like, once your opponent shows up basic. Because once there's a plains, that means Teferi can come down, right? Like, plains plus the Harbinger means you have always Azorius mana. So,
ooh, you see what we hit there? First card on top was a Oculus. Did see the ritual come down this turn. Move to end step. It resolved 7. Look at them. We can upgrade this 2-drop to a 3-drop. And we can do. I saw that was an Oculus on top. I saw.
I think that was subtlety.
I say maybe it was a subtlety then.
Yeah, it was Sink into Stupor, actually. Now I'm thinking about it, like the art. But yeah, it was not an Oculus. I think the full art nature might have tricked you on the birthing ritual a little too. That was quickly after.
Those old tricky alternate arts. Look, I've had a couple months off, all right?
It's all good.
I'll shake off this dust in a minute. It'll all be good.
So this right here is exactly the awkward part. So Vinny is playing around the card Mystical Dispute right now. That's why Vinny isn't slamming the Teferi. But even if we play around it just for a turn, yeah, and look, we have this Flage that we can still cast.
Okay. We do have Endurance in hand. So we don't actually have to worry about them coming back too much. And we know it's kind of scary, especially with an Arena of Glory in there and it's just missing one card type. We find a land for ourselves.
I think this was actually very good that Vinny killed our Harbinger of the Seas. I think it was going to lock us out of playing this card we need to play in Endurance. And we had no green card, so we had to draw it.
Is there a line where we would just held this up? Are we doing this now so we've got something for the birthing ritual end of turn?
It's the birthing ritual, I think, is the big tiebreaker. Also, Vinny didn't leave up any blue mana. A little bit of a mistap, I think. Maybe, needed to represent double red for some reason. We're just trying to do something, but
Fearful Fip. Draw 2 cards. Do it.
I'll give it to you here that I like this. Double check, make sure. Don't get got. I've definitely been got before in situations like this. But yeah, 2 cards. I mean, you got Flare Denial. If Vinny tries to play Teferi, this is going to feel pretty good.
Ooh, we drew a subtlety off that as well.
That's good.
We are going to flare this. Get that doggo out of here. Okay, so at the minute, it's going all right for Terry. We're not being able to apply pressure, but we are kind of being able to stall a lot of what Vinny's trying to do.
Yeah, and this is the big thing. It was making sure a card like Riddler didn't come down.
Oh, did we draw that ephemerate off the draw for?
I think it was the draw for turn, but yeah, it was one of our more recent cards, I think. And this is a big yikes moment here. And this is kind of the awkward part of fighting over Dog. Is Dog enables cards like Riddler, but obviously the Riddler is a threat on its own. So a little bit of an awkward situation here, and I don't think we have an answer to this Teferi.
I thought we had a subtlety in hand. We do not have blue
we do have the subtlety, excuse me. Yes, but
we don't have a blue card by the looks of it. Otherwise, I probably would have slammed it on the Riddler.
Well, you have Brazen Borrower in hand from turn 1.
Oh, we do.
But you can Brazen Borrower the Teferi, but this is where it's all starting to turn sideways, right?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna let it resolve. What's the reasoning behind that? What's the pros and cons?
If you subtlety the Teferi, it's gonna go on top. You're down 2 pieces of material, right? And it's just not a good position to be in. The Teferi is almost assuredly going to bounce your ritual, so it's going to be low health, right? So you can fight over it later. But it is just you subtlety it, then he puts it on top, draw it again, and just going to play it again. So you're not really getting anywhere, right? Or at least this way, you're okay, it hits the board, and then I'll present creatures to fight over it.
I think that's a really interesting point, a nice talking point. You're valuing resources because the game's going to go up. We're not. This isn't the dual end of this next turn or two. So we're valuing the extra cards in our hand, the extra resources that we will need to battle out from underneath this, opposed to kind of just stalling the time walking ourselves a bit, but giving us nice cards for it.
Yeah, if you had a card like Abhorrent Oculus in play that was going to get bounced, that's expensive and hard to replay, then I like subtletying a lot more, right? Because even though it's going to come back, you get a turn cycle with the Oculus, right? There's just more commitment to it. This is just, you're kind of forced in here.
Kind of forced at the top of that Oracle. Not exactly what we want right now in the face of this Teferi. No, Teferi stack means that we can only play things at sorcery speed. We're going to go Ritual as well. Get the nod from Vinny. That's going to resolve. We're going to move to our end step. Look at the top 7. There's definitely an Oculus in this.
Yeah, as silly as it sounds, I kind of wish Terry had Brazen Borrower and just cast Brazen Borrower for the turn. You know what I mean? We had 5 mana, Petty Theft, and to just play it, get this Riddler off the board, and don't allow the real thing to happen. So this is active player, non-active player. So Terry goes first. Apnap.
That was an Endurance, I think.
Yep. That's a nice one to have under there.
Did we miss our draw for the turn? Or did we draw 2 and I missed it?
Yeah, I'm not exactly. Okay,
yeah.
They did miss it. I was going to say, sometimes players, they just pick 2 really quick.
Normally you only draw one card in your upkeep, right? And it was obviously because of the Riddler and the Ephemerate triggers, so that's where it went. But it's fine.
Yeah. We won't lose any sleep over this. The big thing to note, though, is Vinny has Wrath of the Skies in hand. And with a Take Up Teferi, that means we have it at instant speed.
Oh, no. You're right. Oh, I forgot about that. This is painful.
Oh, interesting. Does Vinny have some card that maybe fights over Brazen Borrower?
But it might even just be an Ephemerate, right? We could flicker it out.
I think that might be the case. Yeah. But also from Vinny's point of view, it's like, do I even need to do that here? You know?
I'm going big here. While that's a fairy sticking around and I can tick it up again, I almost take a turn off. The 2/2 can't attack, right? Oh, no, it can, yeah, because we're back.
Yeah, it was last turn. Yep.
That's how that works.
There we go. Vinny's leaving blue mana behind this time.
Tap like this. Wrath of the Skies for free. Free energy. Imagine we're going to use that free energy to completely one-side the board. We do. Absolute backbreaking here for Terry. Now has to try and rebuild again. Of course, had that Force Negation in hand. Couldn't play it because Teferi was on the board.
Yeah, and this is where things get very awkward. If Teferi isn't on board, you can see how this deck runs away with the game, right? You got this Oculus, it's big. I fought through the Flasia a little bit, right? But
gonna play the Blazing Burrow. But we know there's a Riddler in hand, which would be a very good blocker for it. We're going to go Surveilling first. Then we're going to tick up this Teferi. 3 mana. Oh, no. We got Flage plus.
No, I think we just have a Quantum Riddler for 5. Paying for the old-fashioned way, it looks like to me.
Draw another card. We've seen this Riddler a few times so far this weekend, in Standard and in Modern. I think it's all right, mate. I think this might stick around for a little while.
It's really, really good. It's actually a thing that, it like calls to me in the Simic Ritual deck too, right? Because you can warp it and then sack it to the Ritual as well, and you can technically go up the chain to it as well. And you got a lot of Coatls and things like this, Fibblethip draw cards, so... But yeah, Quantum Riddler is very, very good. I mentioned this yesterday on coverage as my go-to talking point on this one. Cards that ask you very little of them in order to be powerful. Just play Magic, spend your spells. Those are ones I'm often really, really interested in, and Quantum Riddler is the new de facto example of that. Hey, man, cast your cards. If you do, I'll give you more cards. What do I want to do every game, Will? Cast my cards. This is great.
So I see a Wrath of the Skies in hand and a Flage. I think we've got enough to play Flage and bring it back with haste if you want to, because of that Arena of Glory. Or do you want to just tick up Teferi here, do another Wrath, and then untap and try and close out the game that way?
Yeah.
5 mana. It is going to be Wrath of the Skies for free. One side, Wrath again. That's 2 now Terry's been on the receiving end of. 3 mana left, which is just enough for a Flage if we want to go that route. First, we're going to get some combat damage in, though. Drop down to 13. And then it's going to be a Fable the Mindbreaker, because then I guess we get to hide the fact that this Flage is in our hand and maybe get that surprise 12 damage next turn.
Yeah, and that's a really powerful line whenever you get to just kind of make your opponent think that, this game is going to keep going for a lot of turns, et cetera, set up a board, then play Flage, and even if it's just killing stuff, right, and attacking for 6, that's such a huge swing if it all resolves that it's really, really devastating. With a card like Teferi, it is going to resolve.
Right, well, if anything gets back into it, we're going to hope it's the namesake card of the deck, Birthing Ritual. Look at the top 7. Don't see anything too fancy here.
I don't think there's anything that can really get us out of here. Abhorrent Oculus, for example, is pretty nice, but Flage just double shoots it. Yeah, you grab this. It's a death. This makes sense. Like, okay, force the Teferi to minus. I can block your Riddler. We know there's a Flage, but
yeah, this is going to be lethal this turn. Completely tapped out. Nothing they can do, especially not in the face of Teferi. We drew a Solitude for the turn, but we don't need that. We can discard 2 cards. One of them is going to be Flage. Draw 2 more, looks at the life total, and then says, cheers, that's enough for me. And we're going to see Vinny, our champion, the North American RC champion, taking this down and starting his NRG 10K off nice and easy round number 1 with that victory, which is really good. It means he's basically been undefeated for almost 2 weeks now. Is anyone going to be able to knock him off that? We're going to go into our backup feature match, though, by the looks of it.
Yeah, Vinny also won yesterday's event while we're setting up that backup feature. So, like the team event going for the back-to-backs today. Already got the NRG champs invite, as everyone who wins the tournament yesterday and today will get one. And let's head on down because I can't wait to get to see more modern action here.
Well, don't blink because you might miss this. We've got Izzet Prowess versus Belcher, two of the fastest decks in Modern right now. And we can see Izzet Prowess on the play. Tell me what makes both of these decks, like as in real quick, why are these two of the quickest decks in Modern right now?
Well, yeah, it's funny to call Belcher a quick deck. It can only win on turn 4 at the soonest, but turn 4 is quick. It is just trying to set up a, Goblin Char Belcher plus activate thanks to Lotus Bloom. Izzet Prowess? It's a classic Prowess deck. You've got a lot of cheap creatures and then, lots of little spells to trigger Prowess. This deck, really, Corey Steelcutter was the thing that came out most recently that helped put it over the line. The next card behind that was sort of Slickshot Show Off, which has been a kind of all-star in the red decks. This matchup can be very challenging for Tameshi Belcher. Not only, is the opponent's deck like a turn or two quicker, they have good interaction for the matchup, right? Like post-board, there's some cards that can be pretty frustrating. And all of your lands that enter untapped deal you 3 damage from the Tameshi Belcher side. So getting attacked, very quickly and having left under pressure is something that is pretty challenging in this deck.
I'm looking through the deck list here. There's a step through in this list for the Belcher side. When was the last time you saw that?
The other day when I was talking to a Belcher player and coaching. There's a couple wizards in the deck, right? Like Tameshi, Harbinger of the Seas post board. Some people play the wizard land. So wizard cycling for 2 is actually just like find one of your combo pieces or find a sideboard card or find a land. That's like kind of the idea.
Okay, I mean we are playing the, am I going to pronounce this right? Umra Wizard, which is one of the spell lands that is out there. So I guess we can cycle, try and hit a land drop that way if needs be. I was looking for the main deck interaction that could happen in this match. We've got a Stern Scolding, we've got 2 Spell Snares, and we've got 2 Into the Floodmoor, 4 Force Negations, 4 Disruption Shoals, 2 straight up counter spells, and we've got 2 Beyond Veil, which is the one that gives creatures -2. I don't think this is going to be great in this matchup, as we're not really going wide. We're going one-shot kill type bit territory. And then a Strixonate, so we can turn a artifact creature or planeswalk if needs to be into a 2/2 bird, but more importantly, would not have the keyword prowess.
Yeah, it's not good. Here's the short and the skinny of it. At least how I view it. In my opinion, Izzet Prowess's best feature is that it is a fast, efficient deck and essentially a combo deck in a lot of ways, and beats all the other combo decks except for Titan. We don't talk about that. They can't really beat Titan. But against like kind of the normal Magic-y decks, this deck has enough interaction that it can actually kind of trip the opponent up and is faster or as fast as them a lot of the time. And then has all these kind of card draw spells to fight the fair fights in hopes to, beat those decks. And so this matchup where your opponent can only kill in turn 4 gives you a lot of time to kind of set up and kill them. As we see like Violent Urge in hand, for example, here for Samuel Clayton, who does have Delirium if we pop this Mishra's Bauble.
Well, this is 13 right now, damage on the stack.
Yeah. This could be lethal.
So I think they're going to let him. So I believe they're going to drop down to 2 here.
Yep.
When everything's said and done.
Yep. And we have a Lightning Bolt in hand. You do it on the upkeep of George that we don't get force negation, then you call it a day.
We'll draw a bauble first and then Lightning Bolt you. Yep, cool. All right, nice. You're not even allowed to play your 3rd land. I told you it was going to be a quick one.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about, right? Like, this is so fast. Like, like, for example, Amulet Titan would have had a very similar matchup if they don't have, like, a turn 2 kill or something like an Arboreal Grazer to get in the way. And so this is why you play Prowess. That sort of game is the important part here. As we're going to quickly take a look at these sideboards.
What do you like? How can we shore this up? Obviously, we know that this is a bad matchup, so we'll imagine we're going to have some sort of sideboard plan towards it. What in this deck? Nope, we just accept it. Cool.
Yeah, you got some engineered explosives. They might be good enough. They're not really good enough. Let's just accept fate. You can Tameshi them, but you're just kind of dead in this matchup, and that's okay. This is something that players have to be okay with. It. Sometimes the matchup is just not very good. So your engineered explosives can sometimes be good. Your Flusterstorm can sometimes be good. In reality, this matchup is just awful. You start the game at 14. Worst case scenario, they're a bad burn deck. That's like their bad draws. It's just a hard matchup, and that's okay. You just hope other people beat Izzet Prowess when you choose to play Tameshi Belcher.
Would you bringing an island in this to have a land that comes to play untapped that doesn't cost you life?
No.
No?
Because it's one card, and that card's basically just there for like White Orchid Phantom, Ghost Quarter type stuff. That way, you know, Boseiju, when they go to blow up your lands and you're trying to Stone Rain you have one turn to kind of get them and hope to like kind of play on curve. So if you draw the one island and play it, you know, it needs to be on turn 4, right, to kind of be the Belcher and then activate. That would be very powerful, but it would also kind of equate to Healing Salve, right? Like when you think about what its functionality is. But then also, if it's not in your hand and you Belcher and you don't hit it, and you do hit it, then you might not kill your opponent, right? So it needs to be like your 20th card down. Probably in reality, more like your 15th card down, right? That deck's going to fetch shock themselves pretty aggressively. It's got Pain Lance, but you know, I think that like it's just not going to equate to there. And lots of times when you have this card in your deck, you're expecting your opponent to blow up the land, so it's almost like it's a non-factor that, you know, island will be in your deck when you activate Belcher.
And last question, then I want to know about Surgical and Torment's Crypt, because the Delirium is a thing in this deck. There are lava darts floating around, etc. Is there any call for them, or are we just straight up going that, or doing my game plan?
I refuse to humor Surgical Extraction against any sort of fair or something like this deck.
Sideboarding card ever.
Put us back into the feature match area. Give me some more Magic. I refuse to talk about it. No, but you know, jokes aside, it's one of those things where, you know, as we look over here at the sideboard, yeah, there's Delirium, but if you're bringing in your Surgical Extractions, you know, someone at home, this is going to kind of trip you up. And Will's asking you this question so you can, you know, hopefully learn from this here. And it's just not going to work, right? Like you could Surgical the dart. Yeah, exactly. That's why we pay Will, you know, $5 a day. But you know,
whoa. I get
that's a lot. That's a lot, and
that is a lot, especially
you're welcome, buddy.
Humble over here.
No, but you know, Surgical Extraction. I didn't mean to out you as money bags. That's on me. I'll take ownership of that.
Splashing the cash. All right, let's look at this Izzet Prowess deck. Was able to take down the game plan. Looks solid. Game 1. Is there anything in the board that I'd want to bring in that can make really get me over the edge here? I'm seeing some cheaper interaction. Let's say.
Yeah, I mean, Consigned is a way to stop the Belcher combo from, well, the Belcher. You can also kind of hit the suspend of the Lotus Bloom. So you can, you know, stop that a little bit. And then Spell Pierce, right? They're not a creature combo deck. But for the most part, you don't want to sideboard a lot with this deck. What I like to tell people is if you're going over like 4.5 cards in sideboarding with this deck, you're probably doing it wrong. There. This is a deck that needs a lot of its pieces together. You do not want to be doing a lot of like 10 cards in every matchup. Those are the exceptions. And so here, just sort of, hey, I've got a couple interactive spells. I've got a lot of pressure. I'm going to change out some of these kind of medium pressure cards to have these kind of good interactive cards. Call it a day. Thumbs up. Let's head to the feature match area.
What about that Surgical Extraction?
What are you going to Surgical? They're dead on turn 3.
I don't know, whatever you counter with Spell Snare, obviously. I don't know what you'd even counter, but cool. If we're ready, let's get down to that feature match. Let's see how game 2 is going to pan out in our backup feature match. Round number 1, remember, ladies and gentlemen, 162 players, 8 rounds before we cut to that top 8. $10,000 on the line, plus an invite to the end of year championships, which in itself is a 24-player invite only. $35,000 on the line for that, and a Pro Tour invite. I have a little mulligan here over on Georgia's side. Going to go down to 6. How does this deck particularly mulligan? Does it mulligan well for a combo deck?
Yeah, it can mulligan totally fine.
Is this killing you that the spell lands aren't getting switched over?
George is lucky then the time shifted match.
I was about to say, and it's recorded, so you can't do anything about
it. George is lucky it's in the old time shifted match. Otherwise, I'd be telling them to flip the lands.
Right, point of damage is going to go from this Swift Spear down to 19. We're going to draw for the turn.
The beauty of Magic having no designated zones like, you know, other games means that we get to do a lot of cool and awesome things. It also means our cards need to be represented the way they are. As we are going to see another land tapped.
Talk to me about your opinion on lands in front of spells.
Coverage rules state that it is illegal. And so here on the NRG series, we follow the rules. I think that basically it's just like having some uniformity when it comes to coverage for newer players.
Yeah.
In the format. I mean, I think even just people less invested, right? Like it can just be harder to parse when all the things are different spots. And that's my big argument against these lands in this spot is, you know, Modern's a complex format. I get the players understand what's happening, you know, but this is just looks like, why are there 2 spells in play? why is one spell tapped and the other spell untapped, especially when they're not creatures. When they're creatures, it even looks weirder. Lands do get blown up. Meanwhile, George here is dying. Sorry, George, for this. It's a rough feature match, my friend.
Going to be taking 4 points of damage because obviously Preordain was cast. We then trigger the Prowess. That's going to be 4 damage coming across from both of these Swiss Spears now. But if we're only taking 4 for the next couple of turns, there's a chance we might be able to get there. But chances in quotes and really hoping. Who was it who used to play the lands, the cards upside down? Sorry to go. I just want to go about that quickly. I can't remember. Adrian Sullivan, something like that.
I don't remember.
Old school pro used to do it. I
remember someone used to do it. It was, I think, dumb.
Whoa! Just say how you see it.
Yeah, I'm just we want me to be honest here in the booth, right? And what is going on in Samuel Clayton's hand? It must be a consign to memory if you're willing to kind of not do anything this turn, as you are going into the Goblin Charbelcher turn.
We have to just nod and say, "Yep, that resolves." Gonna go for 0 Whirler. Only one card in the deck we can find. It is going to be that Lotus Bloom, so it is now going to be in play. That gives us up to 6 mana for next turn. If we have a land drop that is untapped, and I'm trying to think if there's anything crazy that could deal 7 damage in one go here. Double Lightning Bolt wouldn't do it, and there's no Lava Dart in the bin.
Well, yeah, it's just consign, right? It has to be consigned from Samuel, or you lose.
And then what we got to stop that? Disrupting Shoal, maybe? But
yeah, Shoal for 1. It is one of the harder mana values to enable here, but you also can just replicate it with the 2 mana up.
What is Adrian Sullivan? Check me out. Well, we're going to crack it. We could also go to the Tameshi line here, which would be quite sweet because then I can get you to talk about it. And the fact that we're doing it this way, that is a Tameshi. So I'm going to ask you to talk me through the Tameshi line and how this now generates us value.
So, and we're going to see it get bolted here. Good start here. So basically, Tameshi has a line of text that says you can return an artifact from your graveyard. You do a draw card, excuse me, it's whenever this thing returns. So you can return something from your graveyard by paying X. Lotus Bloom has 0 mana, so X gets to be 0. Then it comes back, and now you have this. So in theory, with your white mana, you sort of make infinite, or really in reality, it's 3 times the number of lands you have. Then you can do things like cast, your Charbelcher and activate with counter backup, et cetera, et cetera. It's a really weird sort of interaction, but the too long didn't read is all of your lands, turn into Black Lotus because you can bounce them and replay the Lotus and make 3 mana on each iteration of it.
We've also got a land drop for the turn if needs be. But are we trying to set up a line where we've got enough mana that we can counter any sort of interaction? Because we've tapped out for that Lightning Bolt. So now we know there's only 1 blue mana, so give me 1 consign. If we've got a Sink to Stupor, if we can get it to the point where we can get to 10 mana, we can then go 4 for the Belcher, 3 to activate it, and 3 for the Stupor.
Okay, so this is Tezzeret the Seeker here. This is a really clever way to get a Goblin Charbelcher into play that gets through consign, right? Because Tezzeret, you minus or search a different artifact. This will make things a little bit more difficult. I don't know the exact mana that we have, but I'm pretty sure that the answer was exactly 5. So that means that this Belcher cannot be activated this turn, assuming my count is correct.
I think we've got Lethal on the crackback. I think we've got Lightning Bolt plus the Surge, which would give us 10 points of damage.
Yeah, that would be 10.
So, because it's still a die now, right? Like we literally have to kill Samuel George this turn. If you're over on Samuel's side, we're going to end the turn, Lightning Bolt you, drop you down to 7. I think we might have had to do that main phase unless we've got something else to get the Prowess trigger. Well, we'll do it. That's 1 trigger. That's going to put them up to 4. Look at the top card of your deck. Go through the motions of it. You never know what we might be having to play around. There could be force negations, etc. Go to combat. Turn them sideways. 4 damage. Surge is going to be. So that's going to be double triggers. Remember, Surge gives it +1/+0. First strike until end of turn. There's the handshake. We are going to see Samuel take this down and start today off with a 1-0 victory. George, it's just rough. You know what I mean? It's just rough. You bring the deck. This is not the deck you want to be playing against. Welcome to Modern. Welcome to Magic.
Yeah, Samuel had a great run at the last RC as well, and someone who's really experienced with this deck and hits a good matchup. You're going to be pretty happy to sort of see this, and this is part of the reason, like we said at the beginning of the round, to play the Izzet Prowess deck, right? You want to run into these Belchers, you want to run into these Storms, you want to just kind of make people race you And especially when they can't be faster. Belcher, at least with Storm, I can go like turn 2, sometimes you're dead, or like turn 3. The having to kill as soon as your quickest kill being turn 4 just gives so much time for the Prowess deck, even on the draw, right? That's just so many turns.
Mason, I got a question for you. Do you like the NRG series?
I love it.
Do you like Magic Online?
I like it a lot.
Okay, what if I told you if I could mix both of those together for you and bring you an amazing tournament on the screen by just scanning that QR code and it'll give you all the details?
That's right. We're partnering with Magic Online and Daybreak in order to bring you the NRG series on Magic Online. Our first event with them is next weekend, November 9th. It is Edge of Eternity Sealed, $2,500 in prizes on the line here, and an invite to NRG Champs. Champs is $35,000 in prizes, a Pro Tour invite, and a invite back to next year's Champs, which we can talk about our 2026 structure here really quick. You can go to our website or scan this QR code to get access to this. This Champs is the one that's happening December 13th and 14th here on twitch.tv or YouTube if you're watching the VOD. Make sure to follow along for that.
So next year's structure, we came out of it yesterday. So this is next year's events. How, or not how it's going to be, how kind of the basic breakdown of it's going to be. We still need to determine locations, formats, etc. But talk me through this. Break it down.
Yeah. So this is the new plan for next year, and there's a little bit of a big change. So the first big change is on the right side of your screen. Like we said before, we're partnering with Magic Online to bring you the Showdown events on there. The winner of all those events go to our end of the year champs. As you can see, 24 players invite only, $35,000 and a Pro Tour invite. Very exciting situation to be happening here in 2026 with the Magic Online events. Anyone can play those from home. Currently, it is just the United States and Canada, I believe, for our event next weekend. As for next year's structure, that will be announced soon. But just as a reminder, the Edge of Eternity's event happening November 9th, that is just United States and Canada. The in-person events, we're doing 4 of them. They're going to be big, bombastic weekends. Y'all are going to really like them. We're going to have more announcements of that soon. But you're going to notice that each of those weekends have kind of 2 big things. One, 10K team showdown into every single one of them. And those formats of the team events we are going to announce much closer to the actual event. We're still going to give you, a month or so of prep time or whatever. But we're going to try and pick formats and working with Wizards sort of, give us the optionality to pick whatever formats we want that are kind of going to be the best for you, the player, right? Let's call a spade right now. VV Cauldron Standard Mirror is not everyone's cup of tea. Ideally, in this sort of world, we would do a modern one, right? Where maybe we would do sealed, like we would do something that makes sense for you, the players. And we're trying to optimize for that. And then these individual trials, these 2.5Ks that are happening, those are also there to be for stuff like Legacy, Hopper, etc. Events and formats that players really like that don't get enough support and are maybe in a great spot right now, but don't get a lot of light shine on them. We know there are very active player bases for those sort of things. So, hey, I love Pioneer. We've seen a lot of cool decks pop out of there recently. Maybe one of them can be Pioneer. That kind of stuff is all going to get figured out as time moves forward and closer to the event. Expect more announcements on this on our social media and website in the coming weeks. But this is the general structure. We're going to get dates and stuff for you soon for the first couple of events. And it's going to be super awesome. I can't wait to see some new names enter the NRG arena and our champs, thanks to stuff like the Magic Online event. A small side note. Normally we have a leaderboard, right? And that's what we're doing. That's not going away. We still have a leaderboard for 2026. So consistent results across all of these events will get you to our Players Championship at the end of the year. So doing well, on Magic Online, but maybe not winning, and doing well in person, this is all going to accumulate towards some points. We're going to break down how that's going to work exactly for you later with the announcement of all the events, etc. So stay tuned for that. But right now, this is kind of the TikTok big picture version of it all.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the next year and how it's going to pan out. I'm looking forward to it. If the format is healthy, that is a real good chance that we're going to end up playing it. As we're going to come back to the booth and close down round number 1 here. Because, of course, we've got a lot more to go. We've got 8 rounds of Swiss today before that top 8. We're going to look forward to who's going to be in it. But me and Mason, we're going to be kicking off the show for the first 5. And then we'll be handing off to the other casters for the rest of it. So we're going to have to pray, have a short little break. And when we come back, we'll bring you round number 2. Don't go anywhere.